Hello, this is Terry Cole with Street Youth Ministry and mightyforce.org, and this is video 7, the last one in my Becoming a Permission Set Based Admin video series. I hope you've enjoyed it. We started out learning what it is and where to find it. We looked at all the pages that were involved and how familiar we are with many of them and how there's some exciting new features. We looked at how to build a safe scaffolding in video 3 to get started. We looked at the common tasks that you're going to need to do in video 4 on a daily basis using that scaffolding. We looked at the value of doing this, in particular, and the benefit of right-sized provisioning or the elimination of over-provisioning, which has a lot of hidden costs to the organization. And then we looked in the last video, number 6, about some larger tasks that you're going to do once you have gained some confidence that will enhance your organization's capabilities because you use permission set groups. So now let's talk about some things that permission sets don't do or can't do. I've done this last because, first of all, I learned that these things can't be done, partly by research, partly by running into them the hard way, partly by trying to create a minimum profile and learning that some things have to be on the profile. I suspect some of these things are going to change. I also ran into a lot of these as I tried to create profiles for an outside user who should not see a lot of extra stuff, or an intern user or a novice user that should not be confused by a lot of things. So I'm just going to pass on what I've learned so far about this, recognizing that I'm kind of new on that path itself. I've been using permission set groups for 3 or 4 years, but the idea of having outside users that don't all have the same provisioning is fairly new in our organization, and we're really enjoying it and looking forward to doing it well. So I'm going to share what permission sets cannot do and what has to be done elsewhere. So I'm going to get rid of the talking head and just go through these points for you. So permission sets cannot restrict access to the profile. They only add to what the profile has. So if you're starting with a minimum profile, then permission sets define everything. But if you're starting with a mixture, like I think almost all of you will be, you just need to always remember that a permission set cannot reduce what the profile has already granted. It can only add. So in the example where I wanted to use a permission set to restrict access to fundraising fields, I defined the summary set, I defined the fundraising detail set, and I assigned the permission sets to their users, but that would not have done anything because each of their profiles already had full access. So what I had to do is go into the profiles and then remove access so that the definition of access is coming from the permission sets. You cannot have more than one muting per permission set group. I find myself all the time wishing that were not true. I would like to have a set of muting for the fundraising stuff and a set of muting for the program data and so on, but that's not how it works. Every permission set group has one muting permission set. So you just have to learn to live with that and document the reasons you do it elsewhere, because there's no self-documentation of the muting reasons like grouping or notation or naming. I would love it if permission sets could define memberships in groups or queues, but that cannot be done. It's done in setup or automation, but it can't be done in the permission set. You can't define record sharing. That's done by roles and criteria and the suppression rules, but it's not done by permission sets. The profile must do some things. I've mentioned them as we go along, but I've stumbled onto these. If an object has a default record type, you must define a default record type in the profile. So even the minimum profile has to have a default record type for objects that it can't even access. It's silly, but that's how the code is written, and that's the way it is. You have to set up a default app in a profile, even if it's a minimum profile. Use Chatter. You plug in time restrictions, and IP range restrictions can only appear in a profile. Things that can't be done in a profile or a permission set, these are just things that I find common to do once I started working on removing over provisioning. And so these are things that are probably best done in public group memberships. Users can be added to public groups, and that can affect what they can see and do, or see really. But list views are really nicely defined by group memberships. List views are something that we have grossly over provisioned in our history. They're either private or everyone can see them, and that's a mistake that we regret at this point as we try to bring in interns or outside users who can just see lots of list views that are not helpful to them. Access to specific report folders. We're finding that we should define specific reports by jobs to be done and give people access to those by permission. We'd like to do it by permission sets, but we can't. But what we're finding is that we need a corresponding group membership for each permission set, and then we can go ahead and do report folders that way. Similarly, we can't get Community Cloud membership. So these are, I'm not entirely sure that one's true now that I said it out loud. I think I might have figured out how to do it, but I'm not sure. Anyway, things done in the Lightning Page Manager only based on profile, app, or user. And this, I think, is a bug that Salesforce is going to have to fix before 2026. But you have to define a home page default using either profile, app, or user, but you cannot do it using a permission set. And I think that's a shame. In some of my examples, program staff use SimEvent app, and the outside volunteer uses SimEvent app, and they can't see the same home page, which is a shame. And they can't see it because they don't have access to the same underlying data. And so we had to go in and hack a different home page for the outside user than everyone else. So it's the way it is. You can't impact conditional visibility of a Lightning component through a permission set. I think this is a bug that they need to fix. Oddly, you can do it through something called a custom permission set, which can be assigned by a permission set, but you can't directly in the Lightning app builder say, I want this component visible if this person is in, has membership in this permission set or has membership in this permission set group. But anyway, those are things that cannot be done, and you have to think about in your overall architecture as you build this extra value for your org by being a permission set based admin. So I hope you've enjoyed this video series. You have access to the Google document through the YouTube link. You can find the Google document that I prepared this series from for a nonprofit Austin user group. You can comment on it, and I will be notified of your comments. You can also leave comments in YouTube, and I'll be notified. I look forward to hearing your reaction as well as your better ideas for how to be a great permission set based admin. Thanks much. Bye.